Okay. So, you have to take note that for our class, then there is two assignments shall be done. Okay, the first one is being done by Dr. Nurul. So for my class, for my session, okay, if you go to our Google Classroom, let me show first. Okay, before we start class, okay, I have to show you this one first. Okay, so I hope everyone can see this. So I have attached the individual assignment for all of you. So let's open this one. Okay. So in this assignment, there is a topic that I would like to you to do to write down individually. Okay, with the title of, with appropriate examples, discuss the political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal challenges on global halal trade. This is related to our topic. And if you look on the way that I rearrange these challenges, we call it pastel. Okay, so some people will use PAS, which is political, economic, social, and technological. But now there are additional element or challenges that have been extended to environmental and legal challenge. So I would like to have this topic as the assignment. Okay, so if you read to the direction or command there, okay, you need to prepare the assignment according to you to this topic. Okay, the assignment shall consist of introduction, methodology, discussion, and conclusion. So the way that we're doing is like we do a review paper actually. Yeah, so this is the main section that you need to include in your assignment. But if you have some subsection, you can do it accordingly, you can add accordingly. Okay, beside that, I would like to recommend everyone to use the Mendeley reference tool to cite those paper that you read to support your challenges during you fill in or completing this assignment. Okay, and for that, you might watch the video that I have recorded on how to use Mendeley if you never do it previously. It's including the installation and how to use the Mendeley. Okay, and then the completed assignment shall be submitted by 17 June, which is I just give you 2 weeks, yeah, to my email. And there is no page limits for this assignment. So related to the marks, we have 5 challenges. So 5 marks are allocated to each challenge and with its appropriate example. So if you look on the question itself is with appropriate example. So you can use any kind of example, any kind of countries as a example to support your um, assignment writing. Okay. However, 5 marks will be deducted when the Trinity similarity is 30%. So in any universities, any assignment, any thesis, or any dissertation, it will be match. The similarity will be checked using the Trinity software. So when the Trinity software is exceeding some particular percentage, so indicate that there are so many we call them copy and paste being done there. So this is the rules that I have set for this assignment. Okay, so with the similar topic, everyone is open to choose any example, but within the uh, time frame given and within the topic given. Okay, so you can go to the Google Classroom to read this one. Okay, before we go to the class, let me show as well. Beside that, on the same topic individual assignment, this is the YouTube Mendeley that I have shared the link. In assisting you to write your manuscript as well or your assignment as well, I have provided a list of recorded YouTube on how to use your Microsoft Word. Yeah. Um, so I hope that this will be assisting you in the completing or finishing the assignment. Okay. So I think that's all related to the assignment. And for today's class, let's go to the topic of halal supply chain. Let's go to the topic. Okay. So this is the topic for today, halal supply chain related to from national and international halal standards related to supply chain management system. Yeah, we are going to share about introduction, laws and requirements, like similar like last week we talked about halal cosmetic, but this one we are talking about halal supply chain. Okay, and then for your information, until now, as far as I know, as far as my concern is, not all countries, not even in Muslim countries, having the halal supply chain standard, except Malaysia. So because of that, we just proceed with the Malaysia halal standard related to supply chain. Okay. So when we talk about supply chain management, remember in the previous class, we also talk about the, just wait for a while. I want to change the drawing. All right, this one. Okay, so in the previous class, we are also referring to MS 1500, the main reference for halal Malaysian standard in this case. So when we talk about MS 1500, they have a state about the requirement to have halal uh, uh, in the entire supply chain. So now we are talking to that particular topic. Okay. So for halal supply chain management, it is a basic concept of a supply chain consists of all parties involved in fulfilling customer requests. So this indicate is starting from purchasing ingredient. I just put it PI, yeah, and then you go to production, and then you go to packaging, storage, and then the last but not least is delivery. Okay, so when we talk about delivery, this is the completion of the halal supply chain. So in this delivery, if you are look in Malaysia halal management system related to supply chain, they are focusing on three part, uh, which is the first one is the uh, transportation, warehousing, and then retailing. Okay, so when we talk about halal supply chain, yeah, related to this delivery, uh, it will covers halal services. Yeah, so this transportation, warehousing, and retailing are considered halal services. But when we talk about food, cosmetic, yeah, and then we talk about pharmaceuticals, it is they are tangible items. So that one we call it halal products. Okay, so now in halal supply chain, we are talking about halal services. So to fulfill the customer request, organization or any premise that produce halal product need to coordinate the production, inventory, location, and transportation among all parties in this supply chain. So this indicate if they don't have their own lorry, a van, or even container to transport their product. So it is recommended for now for them to prioritize any company or any organization that offer halal services related to this transportation, warehousing, and even retailing. So this is what the halal supply chain management is all about. Okay, so halal supply chain as well is integration of suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and customers, in which raw materials sourced from suppliers to manufacturers who then produce them into finished product and coordinate delivery to consumer or customers. So in this case, the element of delivery is part of the halal supply chain. So we are going to focus on this delivery, warehousing, and retailing, which are part of the uh, halal services. Okay, so halal supply chain, or sometimes we call it HSCM, is the same as halal supply chain management. But the only difference is the halal supply chain has been added with the element of Sharia law, providing Islamic law is the guideline for a proper and halal process. So in this case, for example, if a company who offer halal transportation or halal services, if they meaning that they are taking or they are transporting product which is already halal certified. So at the first place, when they would like to receive any company, any client that would like to use their service, yeah, their halal services, this company shall at the first place ensure the products that going to be stored, transport, or retail using their premises shall be halal certified at the first place. Yeah. So they could not transport, they could not store, they could not make a retailing activities on non-halal certified not non-halal certified products in this case lah. So that's why we call it halal supply chain management. You need to ensure those in product that you are going to deliver are already halal. Okay. So when we talk about halal supply chain management, you can see we are talking again supply chain, supply of raw material, manufacturer, the company itself, storage. Usually, storage and manufacturer are related to also can be stored in the manufacturing facilities. Yeah, and then we also have retailers and also consumers. Okay, but if you look here, when we talk about halal supply chain, supplying or purchasing of raw ingredient or raw material, this one we call it halal procurement. Yeah, when you are producing a product, so this is halal manufacturing, but you have to take note. Most of the time, definitely a premise that have manufacturing facilities will definitely have their own halal procurement. But some company, even though they have a storage, maybe the store that they have is very limited. So they need an additional parties that can offer halal logistic. So this case, halal logistic involve a company who offer transportation, yeah, to transport the product from the manufacturing facilities to a warehouse or to a storage facilities, or we can also have a transportation of company to transport the product from the manufacturer directly to the retailers, or manufacturer storage facilities to the retailers, yeah, and then transport again to the consumer. So these storage, retailers, and consumer transportation facilities are considered the halal logistics. So this halal supply chain will cover that we are going to cover focus or we are going to focus on the halal logistic. Okay, so this is the element of halal supply chain that we need to known to make known about. Okay, what else okay, so this is the simplified version that we can show here. We see that we have a halal logistic that offer transportation from the manufacturer to storage facility, manufacturer to retailers, or from the storage facility to the retailers, and transport as well from the manufacturer to the product from the manufacturer directly to consumer. Okay, so you can see here there's also transportation here and also transportation here, so we can have this kind of approach. Okay, so we are talking about these three today. Okay, so when we talk about halal standards related to supply chain, we can see here on we can divide this halal standard into halal product standard. So we have here, this is for halal products, but when we talk about halal supply chain, there are part 1, part 2, and part 3 in the case of Malaysia halal standard related to supply chain, which is the first one is transportation, the general requirement. Yeah, so this Malaysian halal we call it standard. If you look at part 2, part 1, part 2, and part 3, yeah, so the principle are similar here. If you look at the specification, if you read on the Malaysian standard, they are using a similar specification. This Malaysian standard specifies management system requirement for assurance of the halal integrity of products, goods, and or cargo being handled through various mode of transportation. This one for transportation, but a little bit changes when we talk about halal supply chain on warehousing. Yeah, you can see here the similar sentence they are using of phrases. Transportation of halal integrity of product, good, and cargo at the warehouse. And if you look at the retailing part, yeah, Malaysian standard specifies Malaysian system requirement for assurance of the halal integrity of product, goods, and cargo at the retail stage. So only one phrase, or sometimes we call it one word, change when we talk about halal supply chain, meaning that they are interchangeable it's not interchange, they are really related between the part 2, part 3, and part 4. And if you look that on the part 1 here, these are talking about halal products, while those part 2, part 3, and part 4 are for halal services. Okay, so today we are specifically going to talk about this transportation, warehousing, and retailing. However, since I've been sharing here, they are using the similar principle, only changing of this particular specific, uh, we call it field, yeah, transportation, warehousing, or retail shop. That's why if you look at the Malaysian standard that being issued now, you can see they are using the similar term, the similar title, Halal Supply Chain Management System for transportation. Yeah, this one as well. Yeah, Halal Supply Chain Management System for warehousing, Halal Supply Chain Management for retailing, because they are really related, and then that's why they talk about part 1, part 2, and part 3. Right? When these Malaysian standards are really related, so that's why if we try to compile, yeah, the requirement within the Malaysian standard itself, so you can see here, this is the title. Each of these halal supply chain management system having a similar requirement. You can see here, requirement related to Sharia, management responsibility, management system requirement, risk management plan summary, information and communication system. So these are the similar one. Yeah, they don't change at all when we talk about this one. Okay. Even if you look further, preliminary step to enable risk management process, operation of the halal risk management plan, okay, general requirement for premise, infrastructure and facilities, even the maintenance of halal supply chain as well, they have a similar requirement. Okay. However, there is one thing that we need to really look into. Yeah, there is a requirement related to Sharia where it states the organization shall ensure that the implementation of this standard is in accordance with the Sharia requirement or Sharia practice of the recipient and or importing country. So that's indicate this is very simple statement, simple yet has a big requirement. Sharia practice according to recipient importing country. This indicate if you are importing country, the importing country is Malaysia, so they need to refer, the exporter need to refer them MS 1500 2019 together with the 2400 part 1, part 2, and part 3. But on certain countries, those exporting countries to that particular country shall really look into the school of thought based on the mazhab and uruf of the importing country, meaning that the culture. Yeah? Because of different mazhab, some countries, they look that uh, requirements such as if you consuming of seafood are not allowed, some based on certain mazhab. So so this is an example about the requirement of global halal trade. So you really need to look into the requirement of different countries based on the mazhab in the or school of thought in the particular countries lah, before you try to export. Okay, so this is what shall be applied if you are in the future working as the halal executive and you are not based in Malaysia, or if you are based in Malaysia and your products from your company would like to be exported to other Muslim countries as well, but different mazhab. So you have to look back this one. Okay. So I believe I don't want to talk much about these. What are different? What are these mazhab about? And so on and so forth. That one will be covered, I think, on other class. Okay. But this is the requirement according to Malaysian standard when we talk about global trade. Yeah. If you are selling your product within Malaysia, definitely it will not be any problem. But if you are selling product in other countries, even in Muslim countries, you have to look into this school of thought requirement. Okay. Okay. Beside of that, yeah, there is a management responsibility for any company who would like to produce a halal products. Yeah. So um, the company related to halal supply chain, the retailing, transportation, and even warehousing, they need to develop the halal policy by what? By provide a commitment with regard of to identification, evaluation, and control related to halal integrity. So they have to state that they need to appoint an internal halal committee. So this is related to here. Yeah. So this internal halal committee will make sure the halal integrity in the product will be there. Will be uphold. Yeah. So when we talk about internal halal committee, there are four personnel, minimum personnel required. This is based on Malaysia. Okay, certain countries perhaps they don't use the term of internal halal committee. Sometimes they might be use the word of halal officers, for example. Yeah. So for internal halal committee, I'm not so sure if you have joined other class when they talk about halal committee. So minimum is four. So you have a chairman, halal executive, uh, representative from the procurement, yeah, and representative from the production. This is the four minimum personnel shall be appointed as the internal halal committee. And if you want to add more, it is allowable or recommended. Okay. Beside of that, yeah, management responsibility as well need to specify the process and location of processes activities. Yeah, where is the location and where are the activities being carried out related to these halal services. Yeah, and then uh, the policy is relevant to and in compliance with the halal requirement. We will look later what are the halal, the five halal requirements. Yeah, and then shall provide suitable praying area for Muslim workers. Okay, this is a little bit uh, interesting. Yeah, people will be asking, so why it's very specific to say praying area. In this Malaysia halal standard, they said that in order for us to evaluate whether they are Muslim or not, one of it is definitely, yeah, they have the shahada, so on and so forth, but they need to practice as a Muslim. So having a praying area that will be indicate as well the company really have a Muslim workers, and then providing praying area for them will be assisting them on uphold the faith of Islam. Okay, so related to this one, when we talk about management responsibility, so they need to appoint this internal halal committee. So what this internal halal committee shall do? So usually internal halal committee, they need to develop, maintains and review the halal risk. Okay, halal risk management. They need to identify halal control point, where this halal control point indicate which process that might be encountering the halal threat, meaning that there are potential of contaminants that may jeopardize the halal status of their product. Okay, and then because of this, since we also know that halal executive is one person which is responsible to manage the halal related activities, so we need to send this halal executive for training. Yeah. Beside of that, even any certification, it is compulsory to have a training among of the workers. Okay, and that we need to provide a sufficient resource. In this case, sufficient resource related to the facilities. If they want to have, they need to have their own PCs, yeah, communication tools, a place to set up halal policy. We call it board, for example. Okay. Facilities to have a meeting related to internal halal committee meeting. So this internal halal committee shall at least carry out two times of meeting in a year. That is a minimum requirement. This is based on Malaysia. Okay, at least when they have this meeting, they can review all those documents related to their halal supply chain services. Okay, so let's see about halal management system requirement. We talk about five actually, so it can be combined here. So the first thing is we need to identify, document, and ensure an adequate control of overall sources that could affect the halal integrity. Yeah, meaning that the company need to prepare a flow chart how they offer the services of transportation, services of warehousing and retailing. Yeah? And from there, they need to establish a documented procedures and a halal risk management plan. Okay, so within this, halal risk management plan, HRMP, we need to identify the halal control point. So halal control point, again, I've been saying this previously, is a process that might encounter halal threat. So halal threat is a potential contaminant that might jeopardize the halal status of the product. So they need to identify the halal control point. And then after that, they need to have a control measures, monitoring system, and corrective action for the halal control point again. Okay. So what is control measures? Meaning that control measures mean if during the production they found or they encounter there is a potential contaminant, oh sorry, contamination have occurred at a particular time of time, so they need to carry out a control measures at that particular of time, which is perhaps they need to stop the production. So stopping the production is a part of control measures. Okay, for example, one example, some of the supplier, they might suggest to bring to they might say claim that their product is halal, but they don't provide the halal certificate, for example. So in this case, if that particular company they want to offer halal services or halal transportation to that particular company, they have to make sure this company really have a halal certified product. If not, they might we call reject the application. So rejecting the application is a control measures. Okay. Then we need to do a monitoring system. Monitoring system is how do you want to monitor the halal threat in that particular of process step. So monitoring system is a system that you can say on how you can uh, verify those claims made by the client sometimes. So, and then we have the corrective action. So actually corrective action is control measures. After you do a corrective control measures and it's still happening, so you need to do a corrective action. So in this case, after you carry out the corrective action, you need to investigate the root cause. Okay. Then determine the verification procedures for halal risk management plan. Okay, how you can verify the activities related to the halal control point. So you can do a spot check. You can send the samples to product to any laboratories. Yeah, you also can carry out an internal audit, for example, so to verify this product are really halal. Okay, and then document system and management record for halal risk management plan. So you have to keep all those record related to activities related in premise. So in this case, for example, you need to attend a training. So you need to record the training attendance, the assessment for training, for example. And then if you have a record of procedure, all procedures within your premise shall be recorded properly and shall be kept properly as a document control. Okay. Then you develop a validation procedure to ensure all recipes complete and correct. Okay. So you need to have a procedure related to these activities. Okay. So I give you another example, how we can carry out or determine the halal control point here. Okay, this is a company where they offer the halal warehousing. I think halal warehousing or yeah, halal transportation and warehousing for cold storage. Meaning that they are offering transportation and uh, storage for a cold storage item. Yeah, sometimes they have meat, for example, or ice cream. Okay, so this is the offering the name of the company is Supreme Cold Chain Sdn Bhd. So you can see they prepare the process steps starting from selecting of the consumer or products. Yeah, the transport of the product of the frozen product from the customers, and then they receive the frozen product. They keep the uh, or they investigate whether the product are really there, yeah, are really halal, for example, and then they store in the cold storage, and then they withdraw the product by the customer to send for another destination. Okay, so this is the process flow. If you look here, actually they can make a process flow diagram using this we call it arrow. Okay, So from here, they provide the potential of contaminant. Sometimes we don't say consumer or customer. The product is non-halal. Yeah, product is non-halal sometimes. Okay, so even though the customer say, I want to use your lorry or your transportation, so this is my product. And then since this company, they are offering halal warehousing and halal transportation, so at the first place, before they decide to sign the agreement with the customer, they need to check whether the product that they are going to transport and they are going to store are having halal certificate at the first place. Okay, so you can see here, transportation of frozen product. What are potential contaminant? The truck that being used might be contaminated with the filthy item, for example, or even contaminated with the non-halal products. We never knew. Sometimes some of the drivers, they move around while they want to transport a halal product. They stop nearby and then bought or buy alcoholic drinks, for example. Yeah? So that would be a mixture of non-halal and halal products in the truck. Okay, and then the recipient of frozen product, okay, perhaps the frozen products itself having a problem in terms of wrong product being delivered. So this is also causing some quality product that being stored. Okay, and then they want to palletizing the product identification. Perhaps the pallet stretch film might cause the contamination. And then on the product storage, sometimes I don't say that a product stored will be having a problem. Sometimes the chiller or freezer that being used might not working properly. For example, you are using a chiller at the negative 20, and then suddenly when you open up the freezer, your freezer, the temperature is 4 degree, for example. So that's indicate the freezer is not really working. Okay, they're having a problem related to their temperature. Okay, and the last one is withdrawal of the product from the customer. uh, Perhaps the customer having problem to receive of the product to be withdrawn, to be transport. Okay, so uh, we go to the evaluation, the likelihood and severity of the product. You can see here, for example, the potential of the customer or this company to receive a product that is non-halal certified. So they say that is very likely. And then there is a severity, how severe it is, it become critical. For this likelihood, it can be divided into three types: likely, moderate, and unlikely. For severity, they are critical, moderate, and even lastly insignificant. The last one, insignificant. So from here, there is a metric. So this metric will indicate the impact value. So each of these steps shall be evaluated for the likelihood and severity. Okay, and then from the risk ranking, you can count or you can determine the numbers of this impact. So this impact, any step that having an impact of 7, 8, and 9 are considered halal control points. So that's why you can see here the impact is 9. So on this last column, is it halal Toiban critical point or HCP? Yes. Okay, this one 5. So it should be no. It should be here actually. Okay. And then this is 9, yes again. This is 1, no. This is 9, yes. This is 1, no. Okay. And then we need to bring all these HCP. This one HCP 1, HCP 2, and the last one is HCP 3 to another column, another table. We call it this column Halal Toiban Risk Management Plan Summary. So you can see here there is element of monitoring. So we have 3 HCP halal control point. So all these 3 halal control point, meaning that the steps, if you look in the previous slide, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out of 6 steps, only 3 steps. Out of 6 steps, only 3 steps are really might be or potentially be contaminated. So this three step is considered halal control point 1, 2, and 3. And then we need to bring to another column. So these three halal control point, these three steps shall be monitored. So that's why you can see the word here, determine control measures, monitoring system, and corrective action. Okay. So this is how they monitor. Okay. For example, the selection of customer and or product. We talk about the product might be non-halal certified. Yeah. So they need to monitor the halal status of that product. How they can monitor? They can double check with the My-e-Halal portal. So in Malaysia, we have My-e-Halal portal. So the authority have their own portal. So from there, you can copy and paste the name of the company that want to use your halal services, and then you can see the name of the company will appear that containing or they hold any halal certification. Okay, so when you need to monitor prior to cold storage, or I think each time we want to receive or accept any customers that want to use our halal transportation, halal warehousing. Okay, so who will taking care of this? Usually customer service officer, or sometimes we call it procurement. Okay, so there is also a column corrective action. If it goes back to this topic, this slide, determine control measures, monitoring system, and corrective actions. So what you should do here, corrective action is the action that we need to carry out when we encounter the contamination or the potential halal threat here. So in this case, if the client say that I have halal certificate, but actually they doesn't have, so you need to reject the customer, and even you can issue a warning letter if they refuse to, or they make a false claim. Okay, and then we have a verification here. It also goes to back to this column, to this slide, sorry. Okay, determine verification procedures. So usually you can review this activity, review the customer record by the halal executive. But how you can review it? Actually, you can go to my e-halal portal again to confirm the halal status. Beside of that, you might be conducting a secondary audit, to evaluate. Perhaps they have halal certificate, but you need to evaluate whether the company itself having their uh, product halal are really halal in terms of the Toyiban part. Okay, and then you have to put a record. So the record here is halal guarantee letter or halal certificate. So similar with the other two steps, HCP2 and HCP3, we carry out the similar evaluation. It's not evaluation this part, similar monitoring activity, but perhaps a slightly different because we have a different step here. Okay, so this is how we carry out the halal to fulfill the requirement of halal management system requirement. So we see here document system and record, and then we develop validation procedure to ensure all HCP are complete and correct. Okay, so the last but not least, before we end the class, okay, we need to have an establishment of information and communication system. Okay, so what does this requirement talk about? The organization shall provide information and communication system to support its operation and to interchange information with other service providers, including freight forwarders and customers. You have to take note, we are talking about transportation, warehousing, and retailing. So perhaps they might be, this halal service provider will be attached to any company for transporting a container product through a container, through a port. Okay, so they need to have a proper information and communication system. Sometimes some company they have a lorry, a big lorry, they have their CCTV, and then they have the GPS. So the GPS in the lorry will trace whether the driver while transporting the product are really transporting the product and didn't simply stop at any place in the middle of transporting of the product. So this GPS system will assist the company to ensure the halal integrity for the halal transportation. Okay, together with halal warehouse as well, they need to have a good scorecard or sometimes they have a system with a barcode. Yeah, each time the product enter their warehouse, they will scan and that will keep into the uh, ICT system. The numbers of product there being loaded. And then if they want to transport back the product, no, transport the product to customers or to retailers, they scan again the barcode. Yeah, so this barcode can be assisting medium for a company to get to ensure the halal integrity within the transportation or halal service processes. Okay, so these are the requirements that when we talk about the Malaysian halal standard related to the halal supply chain. Okay, so I think that's all from me when we talk about Malaysia halal standard related halal supply chain. So we are talking about transportation, warehousing, and we call it retailing. Okay, you have to take note on this one. This is very important. The requirement of this halal supply chain. Okay, so any questions so far? Ada soalan? You have any question? Yeah, please. Mm-mm. Mm. Mm. Okay. Mm. Okay. There is a very limited. Okay, as far as I know, in Malaysia, what we have currently, uh, I don't know about this year. Okay, I think before the COVID time, we have Malaysia have uh, certified up to 50 halal we call it halal supply chain halal services provider, those transportation, warehousing, and retailing. So this and some of them are really in the big companies, such as we have Nippon Express, which is a worldwide coming from Japan, for example. So this company have, if they are going to export the product which is already halal certified, so most of company will go to this 50 company that are already halal certified, but still limited. So that is how they proceed. Okay, but at certain case, there is one participant from my workshop. They have been. This is how they share with me. They share with me during the workshop. They contact the authority. So and they said there is from their country. There's no many, not much or not many halal service provider in their country. So what they did, the authorities still allow transporting the product using the container and ship, provided that the container is allowed, their product are allowed to be mixed with electronics product with and it should not be but it's not allowed to mix with any meat based product, meat and oil based product. It's not allowed, but it's still allowed halal product with the electronics product. For if for those company that are going to export, they don't have the halal service halal service provider in this case. So that is one thing that I've got information. If the company doesn't have or the country doesn't have halal service provider. Okay, so I hope that will be answering you. Some of company, yes, really, we really have in Malaysia, but in certain countries, they really don't have it. So the authorities still allow exporting and importing the product, provided that it's not mixed with the meat-based product and oil-based product, because this meat and oil-based product are the most critical ingredient that might originated from the non-halal source. Lah. Okay. Okay, Ariful Islam, is it okay? Uh, okay. So this is what I have known. Thank you for the question. Sometimes I will forget to say this one. But up, I think in up to 2018, our COVID coming at 2019. They in Malaysia they have certified up to 50 companies in Malaysia, internationally and locally. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's all from me. So again, please go to our Google Classroom. I have shared the assignment for all of you. Yeah. So please abide with the submission time, date and time. I think that's all from me lah. Okay. If you have any question, you can go to Google Classroom as well, and from there you can make a comment. So inshallah, I will try to answer um, in, at the as fast as possible for you to get the information. So this class as well I have recorded for you. So I will attach the YouTube link to the Google Classroom as well. Okay. So I think that's all from me. Thank you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.